The ancient stone walls of Westminster Abbey held their breath as Princess Diana stepped from the glass coach on that July morning in 1981. Her ivory silk dress, with its 25-foot train, seemed to float behind her like a cloud. But what millions of viewers around the world didn't realize was that this fairy tale moment was built upon centuries of carefully preserved traditions that could make or break a royal marriage. Royal weddings aren't just celebrations of love. They are intricate ceremonies where every detail carries the weight of history and political significance. When Lady Diana Spencer married Prince Charles, she was participating in rituals that stretched back to medieval times, each one designed to demonstrate the power, legitimacy, and divine right of the monarchy. The choice of Westminster Abbey itself tells a story. This ancient church has witnessed the marriages of kings and queens for over 900 years. When William the Conqueror's son Henry married Matilda of Scotland in 1100, he established a tradition that would endure through countless generations. The Abbey's Gothic arches have echoed with wedding vows that united not just two people, but entire kingdoms. Before any royal couple can say their vows, they must navigate a maze of protocols that would challenge even the most organized wedding planner. The bride's family doesn't simply choose a dress from a boutique. Royal wedding gowns become historical artifacts, designed by the finest craftsmen and incorporating symbols that tell the story of the monarchy itself. Diana's dress designers, David and Elizabeth Emanuel, worked in complete secrecy for months. They created backup dresses in case of disasters and used silk from British silkworms to ensure every thread supported local industry. The wedding rings carry their own fascinating traditions. Royal wedding rings are traditionally crafted from Welsh gold, a practice that began with the Queen Mother in 1923. This rare gold comes from a mine in Wales that has provided rings for generations of royal brides. When Kate Middleton married Prince William, her ring was carved from the same nugget that had provided gold for the Queen Mother, Queen Elizabeth II, Princess Margaret, and Princess Anne. The continuity of this metal creates a physical link between past and present. Guest lists for royal weddings become diplomatic chess games. Every invitation sends a message about international relationships and royal priorities. When Charles and Diana married, representatives from around the world gathered to witness the ceremony. But the seating arrangements required months of careful planning. Who sits where, who arrives when, and even who curtsies to whom follows strict protocols that date back centuries. The wedding breakfast, despite its name, isn't actually served at breakfast time. This formal meal following the ceremony follows traditions established by Queen Victoria. The wedding cake alone becomes a masterpiece of engineering and artistry. Royal wedding cakes traditionally have multiple tiers, each representing different aspects of the couple's future together. When William and Kate married in 2011, they broke tradition by choosing a more casual fruitcake alongside the formal cake, showing how modern royals balance tradition with personal preference. Music during royal weddings follows carefully established patterns. The processional music, the hymns, and even the organ pieces are chosen not just for their beauty, but for their historical significance. When Princess Anne married Captain Mark Phillips in 1973, the music selection included pieces that had been performed at royal weddings for generations, creating an audible link to the past. The exchange of vows themselves follows ancient Anglican traditions, but royal couples often add personal touches while respecting the fundamental structure. The words, "to love and to cherish," carry special weight when spoken before representatives of the Commonwealth and broadcast to millions worldwide. These vows become part of the permanent record of royal history. Photography and recording of royal weddings follow strict protocols. Official photographers must capture specific moments in predetermined ways, ensuring that the historical record meets royal standards. When Princess Margaret married Anthony Armstrong Jones in 1960, it became the first royal wedding to be broadcast live on television, forever changing how the public experienced these ceremonies. The honeymoon traditions also carry royal significance. Unlike ordinary couples who might choose any destination, royal honeymoons must consider security, diplomatic implications, and historical precedent. When Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip honeymooned at Broadlands, they were following a tradition established by previous royal couples, who chose locations within the Commonwealth whenever possible. Wedding gifts to royal couples often become part of the Crown's permanent collection. Unlike typical wedding presents, royal gifts are carefully catalogued and often displayed in royal residences for generations. When Charles and Diana married, they received gifts from world leaders, including jewelry that Diana would wear at state functions for years to come. The legal aspects of royal marriages involve unique considerations. Royal marriages must receive formal consent from the sovereign, a tradition established by the Royal Marriages Act. This means that even in matters of the heart, royal family members cannot simply follow their emotions without considering the constitutional implications of their choices. The transformation from commoner to royal family member begins the moment the wedding ceremony concludes. New royal spouses must learn complex protocols about precedence, which determines who enters rooms first, who speaks first at official functions, and countless other details that govern royal behavior. Royal wedding dresses become historical artifacts immediately after the ceremony. Diana's dress, preserved and occasionally displayed, represents not just fashion history but social history. The public's fascination with these gowns reflects the broader relationship between the monarchy and the people, where royal fashion choices influence trends worldwide. The bells of Westminster Abbey that rang out after Charles and Diana's wedding followed a tradition dating back centuries. These bells have announced royal marriages, births, and coronations, creating a soundtrack for British history. Each peal carries the weight of tradition forward into the future, connecting the present moment to countless generations of royal celebration. Royal wedding ceremonies demonstrate how the monarchy balances ancient tradition with modern expectations, creating moments that honor the past while embracing the future. Every detail, from the flowers to the fanfare, tells the story of an institution that has survived and adapted through centuries of change. The Golden State Coach rolled through London streets on June 2, 1953. Carrying a young woman toward a destiny that would define the next 7 decades of British history. Inside sat Elizabeth Alexander Mary Windsor, about to become Queen Elizabeth II, through a coronation ceremony that hadn't changed in its essential elements for over 1,000 years. The crowds lining the streets witnessed not just the crowning of a monarch, but the culmination of traditions so ancient that their origins disappeared into the mists of medieval history. Coronations represent the most sacred and mysterious of all royal ceremonies. Unlike weddings, which celebrate personal love, coronations transform ordinary human beings into divinely appointed rulers. This transformation doesn't happen through simple ceremony, but through rituals that combine religious blessing, political theater, and magical thinking in ways that would seem impossible in any other context. The preparation for a coronation begins years before the actual ceremony. Every detail must be planned with precision that would make military strategists envious. When Elizabeth II's coronation was being planned, committees worked for months determining everything from the exact positioning of chairs to the precise timing of each ritual element. Nothing could be left to chance because any mistake would become part of permanent historical record. The crown jewels play the central role in coronation ceremonies, but their significance goes far beyond mere decoration. St. Edward's crown, used for the actual crowning moment, weighs nearly 5 pounds and contains precious stones collected over centuries. When this crown touches the monarch's head, it connects them to every previous ruler who wore it. The weight isn't just physical, it represents the burden of responsibility that comes with absolute power in a constitutional monarchy. The coronation chair, known as King Edward's chair, has been used in coronation ceremonies since 1308. This ancient wooden throne contains the Stone of Scone, also called the Stone of Destiny, which Scottish kings used for their coronations for centuries. When Edward I captured this stone in 1296, he incorporated it into English coronation rituals, symbolically claiming dominion over Scotland. Every monarch since then has been crowned while sitting above this Scottish stone. The ceremony itself follows a structure established over centuries of royal tradition. The recognition comes first, where the Archbishop of Canterbury presents the monarch to the people in Westminster Abbey, asking if they accept this person as their rightful ruler. The congregation responds with shouts of "God save the King" or "God save the Queen," creating a moment where popular consent meets divine appointment. The religious elements of coronation reflect the deep connection between monarchy and divine authority. The monarch takes multiple oaths, promising to govern according to law, maintain the Protestant religion, and protect the Church of England. These aren't merely ceremonial promises, they become binding constitutional obligations that define royal duty for the rest of the monarch's reign. The anointing represents the most sacred moment of the entire ceremony. Hidden from public view by a golden canopy, the Archbishop of Canterbury anoints the monarch with holy oil on their hands, breast, and head. This oil, traditionally made from ingredients including roses, cinnamon, and orange flowers, transforms the ceremony from political theater into religious sacrament. The anointing makes the monarch God's representative on earth, in a way that no election or appointment could achieve. The investiture with regalia follows ancient patterns where each item carries specific symbolic meaning. The sovereign's orb represents the monarch's earthly power under divine authority. The scepter symbolizes temporal power, while the rod of equity and mercy represents justice tempered with compassion. When these items are placed in the monarch's hands, they become tools of rulership blessed by centuries of tradition. The actual crowning moment creates one of history's most powerful visual symbols. As the Archbishop places St. Edward's crown on the monarch's head, the congregation shouts, "God save the King" or "God save the Queen," while trumpets sound and bells ring throughout London. At precisely this moment, gun salutes fire from the Tower of London and other locations across the Commonwealth, announcing the new reign to the world. The homage that follows the crowning demonstrates the feudal relationships that still technically govern British society. Senior nobles approach the newly crowned monarch to pledge their loyalty, kneeling before the throne and promising faithful service. This ritual connects the modern ceremony to medieval practices where personal loyalty between lords and vassals form the foundation of political order. Coronation music follows traditions established over centuries, with pieces specifically composed for royal ceremonies. Handel's Zadok the Priest, written for George II's coronation in 1727, has been performed at every coronation since. The music isn't just entertainment, it creates emotional and spiritual atmosphere that transforms political necessity into transcendent experience. The coronation banquet, held after the ceremony, follows elaborate protocols that demonstrate the monarchy's relationship with British society. Traditional dishes are served following recipes that date back centuries. The champion of England historically appeared during the banquet, ready to defend the monarch's right to rule against any challenger, a tradition that continues in modified form today. Foreign representatives at coronations witness Britain's oldest constitutional traditions in action. Their presence demonstrates international recognition of the new monarch while showing how British traditions influence royal ceremonies worldwide. Many current monarchies have adapted British coronation elements for their own use. The transformation of Elizabeth II from princess to queen during her 1953 coronation demonstrated how these ancient rituals continue to create legitimate authority in the modern world. Television cameras allowed millions to witness sacred ceremonies previously seen only by privileged nobles, forever changing the relationship between monarchy and people. The costs of coronations reflect their importance to national identity. Elizabeth II's coronation cost the equivalent of millions in today's money, but the ceremony generated international attention and goodwill that far exceeded financial investment. Royal coronations become advertisements for British culture and stability that money cannot buy. The constitutional changes that follow coronations happen automatically through tradition. rather than formal legal process. The new monarch becomes head of the Commonwealth, supreme governor of the Church of England, and commander-in-chief of the armed forces simply by virtue of wearing the crown. Modern coronation planning must balance ancient tradition with contemporary security and media demands. Future coronations will need to respect centuries of precedent while acknowledging changed social conditions and international relationships. The challenge lies in preserving meaningful tradition while remaining relevant to modern audiences, who may question the very concept of inherited authority. Princess Diana discovered the invisible prison of royal protocol on her very first morning as a member of the Windsor family. She woke up in Buckingham Palace to find that even the simple act of walking down a hallway required careful consideration of who might be approaching from the opposite direction. Should she speak first? Should she wait to be spoken to? Should she curtsy to people she had chatted with casually the day before? The answers to these questions weren't written in any guidebook. They existed in the minds of courtiers who had spent decades mastering the intricate dance of royal etiquette. Royal rules and protocols form an invisible framework that governs every moment of royal life. These aren't suggestions or guidelines that can be ignored when inconvenient. They represent centuries of accumulated wisdom about how monarchy functions, how power is exercised, and how the royal family maintains its unique position in British society. Breaking these rules doesn't just cause embarrassment. It can threaten the very foundations upon which royal authority rests. The hierarchy within the royal family follows precise rules that determine everything from seating arrangements at dinner to who enters a room first at state functions. These precedence rules seem archaic to modern observers, but they serve crucial purposes in maintaining order and clarity about relationships within the family. When Queen Elizabeth II enters a room, everyone else must rise and remain standing until she sits down or gives permission to be seated. This isn't mere formality, it's a visual demonstration of constitutional monarchy in action. Marriage within the royal family brings its own complex set of rules that can transform lives overnight. When commoners marry into royalty, they must learn protocols that govern their every public appearance. Kate Middleton spent months before her wedding learning how to walk, talk, and behave as a future royal. She practiced curtsying until the movement became natural, learned the proper way to hold a teacup at royal functions, and memorized the names and titles of hundreds of people she would encounter at official events. The dress codes for royal family members extend far beyond simple fashion choices. Royal women cannot wear sleeveless dresses at formal daytime events, must wear hats at certain functions, and must choose colors that photograph well under various lighting conditions. Royal men must understand the difference between white tie and black tie events, know when to wear military uniforms versus civilian clothes, and understand how their clothing choices communicate messages about the occasions they attend. Gift giving and receiving within royal circles follows elaborate protocols that can confuse newcomers. Royal family members cannot simply accept gifts from anyone who offers them. All gifts must be declared, evaluated for appropriateness, and often become property of the crown rather than personal possessions. When foreign dignitaries present gifts to royals, the exchanges follow diplomatic protocols that require careful reciprocity and cultural sensitivity. Royal travel involves security considerations that create their own sets of rules and restrictions. When royals travel together, they often must take separate flights to ensure succession remains secure in case of accidents. The queen and heir to the throne traditionally cannot fly together, a rule that has shaped royal family travel for decades. These precautions extend to ground transportation, where royal cars follow specific routes and timing that ordinary citizens never see. Communication protocols govern how royal family members interact with media, government officials, and the general public. Royals cannot express political opinions publicly, cannot endorse commercial products, and must carefully consider how their words might be interpreted by different audiences. When Prince Harry and Meghan Markle decided to speak openly about their experiences within the royal family, they violated fundamental communication protocols that had governed royal behavior for generations. The working relationships between senior royals and junior royals follow hierarchical rules that determine decision-making processes within the family. Senior royals have the authority to make decisions that affect junior royals' schedules, public roles, and even personal relationships. This hierarchy isn't based on age or personal preference. It follows constitutional precedence that places the monarch's needs above all other considerations. Royal residences operate according to protocols that govern everything from staff behavior to guest accommodations. When visitors stay at royal properties, they must follow house rules that date back centuries. Guests cannot speak to the Queen unless she speaks to them first, cannot turn their backs on senior royals, and must observe dress codes that vary depending on the time of day and type of event. The financial rules governing royal family members create unique challenges that ordinary people never face. Royals cannot simply spend money without considering how their purchases might be perceived by taxpayers who fund much of their lifestyle. They must balance personal desires with public expectations, always aware that their financial choices become matters of public interest and political debate. Education and career choices for royal family members must align with their eventual roles in representing the monarchy. Unlike other wealthy families, royals cannot pursue careers that might create conflicts of interest or compromise their ability to serve as neutral representatives of the state. This limitation has become increasingly challenging as younger royals seek to balance traditional duties with modern career aspirations. The social protocols governing royal family members extend to their choice of friends, social activities, and even charitable causes. Royals must carefully consider how their associations might reflect on the monarchy as a whole. They cannot simply support causes they personally believe in without considering the political implications of their choices. This restriction has led to tension between personal convictions and royal duties. Royal protocol during emergencies and crisis situations requires careful balance between human responses and constitutional obligations. When national tragedies occur, royal family members must respond in ways that comfort the nation while maintaining appropriate dignity and neutrality. Their words and actions during difficult times become part of historical record and can significantly impact public perception of the monarchy. The rules governing succession and inheritance create unique family dynamics that ordinary families never experience. Children born into the royal family must understand from early ages that their futures are determined not by personal choice but by their position in the line of succession. These rules have shaped royal family relationships for centuries and continue to influence how royal children are raised and educated. Technology has created new challenges for royal protocol as digital communication and social media have transformed how royals interact with the public. Traditional protocols developed for face-to-face interaction must be adapted for digital environments where royal communications can be instantly shared worldwide. Modern royals must master both ancient etiquette and contemporary communication technology. The enforcement of royal protocols happens through subtle social pressure rather than formal punishment. Senior royal family members, long-serving staff, and court officials guide newer members through gentle correction and patient instruction. However, serious violations of protocol can result in exclusion from important events or even loss of royal titles and privileges, as history has demonstrated through various royal scandals and departures. The clock tower of Big Ben chimed 11 times as Queen Elizabeth II stepped onto the red carpet at Royal Albert Hall, beginning a ritual that would unfold with precision timing perfected over decades. Behind her followed a carefully orchestrated procession of royal family members, each positioned according to their rank in the line of succession. The audience rose as one, not from mere politeness, but following protocols established when Queen Victoria first attended this same venue more than a century earlier. This state occasion would demonstrate how royal ceremonies transform ordinary events into historical moments that reinforce the monarchy's central role in British life. Royal ceremonies extend far beyond weddings and coronations to encompass hundreds of annual events that mark the rhythm of British public life. These occasions range from intimate family celebrations that become national holidays to elaborate state banquets that showcase Britain's diplomatic relationships with the world. Each ceremony follows traditions that have been refined through generations of royal participation, creating a calendar of events that provides structure and continuity to British society. The state opening of Parliament represents one of the most constitutionally significant royal ceremonies, where ancient tradition meets modern democracy in a display that would seem impossible in any other political system. Every autumn, the Queen travels from Buckingham Palace to the Palace of Westminster in the Diamond Jubilee State Coach, accompanied by the household cavalry in full ceremonial dress. This journey isn't merely pageantry, it demonstrates the constitutional relationship between Crown and Parliament that forms the foundation of British government. Inside the House of Lords, the ceremony follows scripts that date back centuries. The Queen sits on the sovereign's throne while wearing the imperial state crown, transforming her from an individual into the living embodiment of constitutional authority. When she reads the Queen's speech outlining the government's legislative agenda, she speaks words written by elected politicians but delivered with the authority that only monarchy can provide. This unique arrangement allows democratic governments to operate within traditional frameworks that predate modern democracy by centuries. Investiture ceremonies at Buckingham Palace occur throughout the year, honoring citizens who have distinguished themselves in public service, arts, sciences, or charitable work. These occasions demonstrate how the monarchy maintains its connection to ordinary British life by recognizing extraordinary achievement. Recipients travel to the palace where they kneel before the Queen as she touches their shoulders with a ceremonial sword, creating knights and dames through rituals that transform personal accomplishment into national recognition. The annual trooping. The color ceremony celebrates the Queen's official birthday with military precision that showcases Britain's armed forces while honoring the monarch as their commander-in-chief. Hundreds of soldiers in immaculate uniforms perform complex drill movements on horse guards, parade while the royal family watches from the palace balcony. This ceremony connects the monarchy to military tradition while providing spectacular public entertainment that attracts visitors from around the world. Garden parties at Buckingham Palace and Holyrood House create opportunities for the Queen to meet thousands of her subjects in relaxed settings that still follow careful protocols. Guests receive detailed instructions about arrival times, dress codes, and behavior expectations before attending these events. The Queen moves through the crowds following predetermined routes, stopping to chat with selected guests who have been positioned strategically throughout the gardens. These conversations, though brief, create personal connections between the monarch and citizens that humanize the institution of monarchy. State banquets represent the pinnacle of royal ceremonial dining, where international diplomacy unfolds through elaborate dinners that can influence relationships between nations. When foreign heads of state visit Britain, they attend banquets in the palace ballroom, where every detail from seating arrangements to menu choices carries diplomatic significance. The Queen's toast to visiting leaders becomes part of the official record of international relations, while the response toasts demonstrate how other nations view their relationship with Britain. Royal Ascot combines royal ceremony with sporting tradition in an annual event that has maintained its social significance for over 300 years. The royal family arrives each day in horse-drawn carriages, processing down the racecourse while crowds in formal attire watch from the stands. The royal enclosure maintains dress codes so strict that fashion observers treat them as seriously as sporting journalists cover the horse races. This event demonstrates how royal traditions can preserve social customs that might otherwise disappear in modern democratic society. The annual Order of the Garter ceremony at Windsor Castle honors Britain's oldest order of chivalry through rituals that connect contemporary honors to medieval traditions. Knights and ladies of the Garter, including senior royals and distinguished citizens, process through Windsor Castle wearing ceremonial robes and historic insignia. This ceremony maintains connections to feudal traditions while adapting them for modern purposes, creating continuity between past and present that strengthens national identity. Christmas broadcasts have become modern royal traditions that reach global audiences while maintaining intimate connections between the Queen and her subjects. These televised messages, delivered from royal residences decorated for the holidays, balance reflection on the year's events with timeless themes of service, duty, and hope. The Queen's Christmas message demonstrates how monarchy adapts traditional communication methods to contemporary media while preserving the essential relationship between ruler and people. Memorial services and commemorative ceremonies allow the royal family to lead national mourning and remembrance in ways that provide comfort during times of loss and tragedy. When Princess Diana died in 1997, the royal family's initial response followed traditional protocols for handling grief privately, but public pressure forced adaptation of mourning ceremonies to meet contemporary expectations for emotional expression. The funeral service that followed combined ancient liturgical traditions with modern media coverage, creating a ceremony that honored both royal precedent and popular sentiment. Award ceremonies, hosted by royal family members, recognize achievement across British society while maintaining the monarchy's role as the ultimate source of honor and recognition. From literary prizes to scientific awards, royal participation elevates these events beyond simple recognition ceremonies to become celebrations of national excellence. The Queen's presence at these events demonstrates the monarchy's continued relevance to contemporary achievement and cultural development. Religious ceremonies involving the royal family reflect the monarch's role as supreme governor of the Church of England while accommodating Britain's increasingly diverse religious landscape. Royal participation in Anglican services maintains constitutional traditions, while royal attendance at interfaith events demonstrates modern monarchy's inclusive approach to religious differences. These ceremonies must balance respect for established traditions with acknowledgement of contemporary religious diversity. The logistics required to execute royal ceremonies successfully involve coordination between multiple government departments, security services, and ceremonial units that must work together with military precision. Rehearsals for major royal ceremonies can take weeks, with participants practicing timing, movements, and protocols until every element flows seamlessly. These preparations remain largely invisible to public observers, but they represent enormous investments of time and resources that demonstrate the importance British institutions place on maintaining royal ceremonial traditions. Modern technology has transformed how royal ceremonies reach global audiences while preserving their essential traditional elements. Television coverage, live streaming, and social media allow millions of people worldwide to witness royal ceremonies in real time, creating shared experiences that transcend geographical boundaries. However, this technological access requires careful balance between traditional protocol and contemporary media demands that can create tension between preserving ceremonies' sacred aspects and meeting public expectations for access and transparency. The crystal chandelier cast dancing shadows across the ornate ceiling of the throne room as Queen Elizabeth II received the credentials of the new ambassador from Japan. This seemingly routine diplomatic meeting followed protocols so intricate that both participants had spent weeks preparing for a conversation that would last less than 20 minutes. The ambassador approached the throne walking backwards, never turning his back on the sovereign, while presenting documents that had been crafted according to specifications unchanged since the 18th century. This careful choreography demonstrates how royal diplomatic ceremonies maintain international relationships through traditions that predate modern democracy. Diplomatic protocols involving royalty create unique challenges that test the skills of professional diplomats trained in managing relationships between nations. When foreign leaders visit Britain, Every detail of their interaction with the royal family must be carefully negotiated to avoid causing offense, while maintaining British constitutional traditions. The order in which people enter rooms, who speaks first during formal exchanges, and even the height of chairs used during meetings can become matters of international significance requiring delicate diplomatic intervention. The presentation of credentials by new ambassadors represents one of the most formal diplomatic ceremonies in the royal calendar. Ambassadors must present letters of credence from their heads of state to the Queen, formally requesting that she accept them as representatives of their countries. This ceremony takes place in the throne room at Buckingham Palace, where the ambassador is accompanied by members of their diplomatic staff in formal dress. The Queen, wearing a day dress and jewelry appropriate to the significance of the occasion, receives these credentials while standing before the throne rather than sitting upon it, a subtle indication that this ceremony represents a meeting between equals rather than a subject presenting themselves to a ruler. State visits represent the pinnacle of royal diplomatic ceremony, requiring months of planning to ensure that every detail honors both visiting leaders and British traditions. When the President of the United States visits Britain, the itinerary must balance official business with ceremonial occasions that demonstrate the special relationship between the two nations. The state banquet held in the President's honor becomes a carefully orchestrated display of British culture and diplomatic courtesy, where menu choices reflect both nations' culinary traditions and seating arrangements communicate political relationships. To observant diplomatic communities, the exchange of gifts during royal diplomatic ceremonies follows ancient traditions adapted for contemporary international relations. Royal gifts to foreign leaders must be valuable enough to demonstrate respect while avoiding appearances of excessive expense that might offend British taxpayers. The Queen's gifts to visiting heads of state often include items crafted by British artisans, demonstrating national cultural achievement while creating lasting mementos of diplomatic visits. Foreign leaders' gifts to the Queen become part of the royal collection, often displayed in royal residences where they serve as physical reminders of international relationships. Military honors during royal diplomatic ceremonies showcase British armed forces while demonstrating the respect accorded to visiting leaders. When foreign heads of state arrive for official visits, they receive gung salutes calculated according to their rank and the nature of their relationship with Britain. The timing and location of these salutes follow protocols that communicate subtle messages about diplomatic relationships to knowledgeable observers. Guards of honor drawn from different military units provide visual displays of British military tradition while honoring visiting leaders with ceremonies that date back centuries. Royal participation in Commonwealth ceremonies demonstrates the unique relationships between Britain and nations that maintain constitutional monarchies. When Commonwealth heads of government meet, the Queen's presence transforms what might otherwise be routine political meetings into ceremonial occasions that emphasize shared history and common constitutional traditions. The Commonwealth Day service at Westminster Abbey brings together representatives from dozens of nations in a religious ceremony that celebrates unity while respecting diversity among member countries. The annual diplomatic reception at Buckingham Palace provides opportunities for the Queen to meet with hundreds of diplomatic representatives in a setting that balances formal protocol with social interaction. This reception requires careful choreography to ensure that all attending diplomats have opportunities to meet royal family members while maintaining appropriate precedence and avoiding any appearances of favoritism toward particular nations. The guest list itself becomes a diplomatic document, with invitations serving as indicators of Britain's current relationships with countries around the world. Royal mourning protocols create unique diplomatic challenges. When foreign leaders die or when international tragedies require official responses from the British royal family, the level of royal representation at foreign funerals communicates Britain's assessment of relationships with other nations. while the Queen's personal messages of condolence become part of the permanent diplomatic record. These protocols must balance genuine expressions of sympathy with constitutional requirements that prevent the monarchy from taking political positions that might compromise its neutrality. International sporting events involving royal patronage demonstrate how ceremonial traditions can enhance Britain's cultural diplomacy while promoting national interests abroad. When the Queen attends the Olympics or Commonwealth Games, her presence elevates these sporting competitions into opportunities for diplomatic engagement that extends far beyond athletic achievement. Royal participation in opening and closing ceremonies showcases British culture to global audiences while providing informal opportunities for diplomatic conversations that might not occur in formal governmental settings. Religious and cultural ceremonies involving the royal family must accommodate diplomatic representatives from nations with different religious traditions and cultural practices. The Queen's role as Supreme Governor of the Church of England creates unique situations when Buddhist, Muslim, Hindu, or other religious leaders visit Britain for official occasions. Protocol officers must devise ceremonial approaches that respect British constitutional traditions while avoiding any appearance of religious insensitivity that might damage international relationships. Royal tours to Commonwealth nations and other countries involve elaborate advance planning that coordinates British diplomatic goals with local ceremonial traditions. When members of the royal family visit foreign countries, their schedules must balance official meetings with ceremonial events that honor local customs while maintaining appropriate royal dignity. These visits often include investiture ceremonies where the Queen or her representatives honor local citizens with British decorations, creating personal connections between the monarchy and citizens of other nations. The language and translation protocols during royal diplomatic ceremonies require special consideration for maintaining accuracy while preserving ceremonial dignity. When the Queen receives foreign leaders who do not speak English, interpreters must be positioned and equipped to provide translation without interfering with ceremonial elements of the meetings. The formal language used during these ceremonies often includes diplomatic phrases that carry specific meanings in international relations, requiring translators with specialized knowledge of both languages and diplomatic protocol. Anniversary commemorations of significant historical events create opportunities for royal diplomatic ceremony that can heal old wounds while celebrating shared achievements. When the Queen participated in D-Day anniversary ceremonies with leaders from nations that had fought both alongside and against Britain during World War II, the royal presence helped transform these commemorations into celebrations of peace and reconciliation rather than simply military victories. Modern communication technology has transformed royal diplomatic ceremonies while preserving their essential traditional elements. Video conferencing and digital media allow royal diplomatic events to reach global audiences instantaneously, creating new opportunities for cultural diplomacy, while requiring adaptation of traditional protocols for contemporary media environments. The challenge lies in maintaining the dignity and effectiveness of royal ceremony while accommodating technological demands that can sometimes conflict with traditional approaches to diplomatic ritual. Royal diplomatic ceremonies continue to evolve as Britain's international relationships change and new nations emerge on the global stage. The monarchy's role in these ceremonies provides continuity and stability that can help maintain international relationships through changing political circumstances, demonstrating how traditional institutions can adapt to serve contemporary diplomatic needs while preserving their historical character and constitutional significance. The young Duke of Cambridge stood at the altar of Westminster Abbey on April 29, 2011, waiting for his bride while 2 billion people watched around the world. But this wasn't just Prince William getting married to Kate Middleton. This was the British monarchy reinventing itself for the 21st century while honoring traditions that stretched back 1,000 years. The ceremony that unfolded that morning demonstrated how royal traditions continue to evolve, adapting ancient customs to contemporary expectations while maintaining their essential power to unite nations and inspire global audiences. Modern royal traditions face unprecedented challenges as social media, changing attitudes toward authority, and demands for transparency transform how monarchy functions in democratic societies. The same ceremonies that once reinforced royal mystery and distance now must balance tradition with accessibility, creating intimate connections between royals and subjects while preserving the dignity and effectiveness that make monarchy relevant to contemporary life. The integration of technology into royal ceremonies has revolutionized how these traditions reach global audiences while creating new opportunities for public participation. When Prince Harry and Meghan Markle married in 2018, their wedding was live-streamed to audiences worldwide, with social media providing real-time commentary and interaction that transformed solitary viewing into shared global experience. However, this technological integration requires careful balance between maintaining ceremonial dignity and meeting contemporary expectations for immediate access and interactive engagement. Environmental consciousness has begun influencing royal ceremonial choices as the monarchy seeks to demonstrate leadership on climate change and sustainability issues. Recent royal weddings have incorporated locally sourced flowers, sustainable catering practices, and carbon-neutral transportation where possible, showing how traditional ceremonies can adapt to contemporary values without sacrificing their essential character. These changes reflect broader social awareness while maintaining the visual splendor and cultural significance that make royal ceremonies meaningful to participants and observers. Gender equality initiatives have transformed royal traditions that once excluded women from succession and limited their ceremonial roles. The Succession to the Crown Act of 2013 ended male primogeniture, ensuring that daughters and sons have equal rights to inherit the throne. This legal change required adaptation of ceremonial language and protocols that had assumed male succession for centuries, demonstrating how constitutional monarchy can evolve to reflect contemporary values while preserving traditional frameworks. Cultural diversity within modern Britain has influenced royal ceremonies as the monarchy seeks to represent all citizens rather than just traditional Anglican audiences. Royal family participation in Sikh, Muslim, Hindu, and other religious festivals demonstrates the Crown's commitment to multicultural Britain while requiring development of new protocols that respect diverse traditions without compromising the monarchy's constitutional role as defender of the Anglican faith. Economic considerations increasingly influence royal ceremonial choices as public scrutiny of royal finances intensifies and taxpayer funding comes under closer examination. Recent royal weddings and celebrations have emphasized value for money while maintaining appropriate splendor, showing how traditional ceremonies can adapt to contemporary fiscal realities without losing their cultural significance or tourism value. The challenge lies in balancing public expectations for impressive ceremonies with responsible spending that justifies public investment. Mental health awareness has begun influencing how royal traditions address personal struggles and emotional well-being within the royal family. Prince William and Prince Harry's openness about their mental health challenges following their mother's death has encouraged adaptation of traditional royal stoicism to include more authentic emotional expression. This evolution demonstrates how royal traditions can embrace contemporary understanding of psychological well-being while maintaining appropriate dignity and public service focus. International cooperation has transformed royal ceremonial participation as global events require coordination between multiple monarchies and democratic governments. When royal families from different nations participate in shared ceremonies, protocols must accommodate diverse traditions, while creating unified presentations that serve diplomatic and cultural purposes. These collaborative ceremonies demonstrate How monarchy can facilitate international relationships in ways that complement formal diplomatic channels. Media management for royal ceremonies has evolved from simple press releases to sophisticated communication strategies that utilize traditional media alongside digital platforms to shape public perception and engagement. Royal communications teams must balance transparency with privacy, providing access that satisfies public curiosity while protecting personal family moments that require confidentiality. This balance has become increasingly challenging as media technology makes private moments instantly public and global. Educational initiatives connected to royal ceremonies have expanded beyond simple historical preservation to include active engagement with schools and universities that study these traditions as examples of cultural continuity and adaptation. Royal ceremonies provide living laboratories for understanding how democratic societies maintain traditional institutions while adapting to contemporary values and expectations. Academic study of these traditions helps preserve their cultural knowledge while providing frameworks for understanding their continued relevance. Charitable integration has become central to modern royal ceremonies as members of the royal family use these occasions to promote causes they support and encourage public engagement with social issues. Wedding guests often include charity representatives rather than just aristocrats and foreign royalty, while ceremonial events frequently incorporate fundraising elements or highlight charitable achievements. This evolution demonstrates how traditional ceremonies can serve contemporary social purposes beyond their historical functions. Commercial considerations influence modern royal ceremonies as tourism revenue and merchandise sales provide economic justification for continued public investment in royal traditions. Royal weddings and major ceremonies generate significant economic activity through tourism, media sales, and commemorative products, creating financial arguments for maintaining these traditions beyond their cultural and constitutional importance. However, commercial exploitation must be carefully managed to avoid compromising ceremonial dignity or royal dignity. Global accessibility through digital media has democratized royal ceremonies in ways that would have been impossible in previous generations. Virtual reality experiences, multi-language broadcasts, and interactive online content allow people worldwide to participate in royal ceremonies, regardless of their geographic location or economic circumstances. This technological accessibility creates new forms of democratic participation in traditional monarchical events. Youth engagement strategies have become essential for maintaining royal traditions' relevance as younger generations question inherited privilege and demand justification for public support of monarchy. Royal ceremonies increasingly incorporate elements that appeal to younger audiences, while education programs help new generations understand the historical and cultural significance of these traditions. The challenge lies in maintaining authenticity while adapting presentation methods for contemporary communication preferences. Future planning for royal ceremonies must anticipate continued social change while preserving essential traditional elements that provide continuity and cultural meaning. Climate change may require adaptation of outdoor ceremonies. Technological advancement will continue transforming media coverage, and demographic changes will influence audience expectations and participation patterns. Successful adaptation will require understanding which traditional elements remain essential while identifying opportunities for meaningful evolution. The transformation of royal traditions from exclusive aristocratic ceremonies to inclusive national celebrations demonstrates how monarchy can maintain relevance in democratic societies through careful adaptation that respects historical significance while embracing contemporary values. These traditions continue to provide frameworks for national celebration, international cooperation, and cultural continuity that serve purposes beyond their ceremonial functions, creating shared experiences that unite diverse populations around common symbols and values. Royal traditions represent living history that continues to evolve as British society changes, demonstrating how traditional institutions can maintain their essential character while adapting to serve contemporary needs and reflect modern values. Their continued relevance depends on their ability to balance historical authenticity with contemporary accessibility, creating ceremonies that honor the past while inspiring future generations.